All right, Nick, let's talk about the Detroit Lions. The 11th hour of the trade deadline, the Detroit Lions go in and make a move that I think is going to be big for this team going forward, adding another reliable weapon to Jared Goff's arsenal, Nick. Big time win versus the Raiders last night. They come off the win, add more big news in this edition. Let's get into the article right now, and then we can talk about what this all means on the other side. This is from Cleveland.com. It says Browns receiver Donovan Peoples-Jones is headed back to Michigan. The Browns traded their 2020 sixth-round receiver out of Michigan to the Lions for a pick in the same round he was drafted, a sixth-rounder in 2025. Peoples-Jones will be a nice, reliable weapon for Jared Goff, who's guided the Lions to a 6-2 record for first in the NFC North. So, Nick, I think the Lions have a pretty comfortable lead in the NFC North. I think they're looking really good, especially since all of the injuries that have happened this weekend. And I think just giving themselves a little bit of extra firepower, a little bit extra reliability, and a guy like Donovan Peoples-Jones, relatively bigger body receiver, 6'2", 205 pounds. He's got some size on him. I think this will be good. It looks like slated per PFF that he's going to start in that third receiving slot already for the Lions, so he could make an instant impact on offense, especially since they have a bye this week going into it and can implement him into the game plan. Have a whole week and then another week leading into the Chargers game as well. I think this could be a very interesting move for the Lions, and that's why I wanted to ask the Lions fans as well in the comments below. What do you think of this move? Do you think this is the firepower you need to get this offense rolling consistently? Can this put the Lions over the top for a big-time playoff push? Let us know in the comment section below. But, Nick, what do you think about Donovan Peoples-Jones' addition coming back to Michigan, joining the Lions?
I think it's a really smart move because you brought up a great point, the fact that they are in good position in their division. And if you're the Lions right now and you're in a great position to be in, Lions fans, you're now focusing long-term contention in terms of deep playoff runs. And one of the things when it comes to building a team for a deep playoff run, you have to structure your team for when and if injuries happen at key positions. Does your whole game plan completely fall apart, or do you have a backup plan in place? And let me explain. So right now, the Lions are very deep, very almost impossible to stop offense. They've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is an absolute beast of a receiver, but he makes a lot of money. He's a weapon as a slot guy. More than 50% of his snaps this season have been lined up as a slot receiver. He's insanely productive. They got Raymond, who's kind of a gadget guy. They got Jamison Williams, who will hopefully keep growing as a big play guy. And of course, they got Reynolds, another big body receiver, to kind of be their standard, what you may hear, X receiver, their kind of standard normal wide receiver. Great running backs, of course, gives breakout performance against the Raiders. Laporta continues to get better and better. So they got a lot of weapons all over the place. The one problem with the Lions is they don't have a lot of depth in terms of positionality. Right now, they only have one guy who I'd consider a true X receiver, and that would, of course, be Reynolds. And he does a pretty good job of that. He's 6'3 plus out of Texas A&M. I think he's a solid player, great member of the Detroit Lions team. The one issue that the Lions could come into, though, if they hadn't made this trade, would be, let's say Reynolds gets banged up. You're then forced to play, say, Amon-Ra St. Brown more on the outside, because let's be honest, Jamison Williams and Raymond at this point in their careers, they have more plays designed for them as opposed to general play structured in the offense the way a normal outside receiver was. So you move Amon-Ra St. Brown in that case from where he's extremely dangerous in the slot to the outside, your offense gets a lot weaker because of it. The way you can prevent that from happening is going out and getting another X receiver, and that's exactly what Peoples-Jones is. Because Peoples-Jones is coming into it. He's not coming in here to dominate. He's not coming here to flip the offense on his head. If he does, fantastic, and just tears it up, that'd be great, of course. But what he's really here to do is to give them another X receiver so Amon-Ra St. Brown can continue to dominate in the role he's in, and the other guys, namely Raymond and Williams, can continue to have special plays set up exactly for them. Because one of the things, it's so true, you get in the playoffs, a lot of times great teams and great coaches, they'll scheme away one of your best receivers. And a lot of times at that point, teams run out of guys. A great example of this was the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Chiefs in the divisional round last year. The Jaguars were giving the Chiefs all they could handle. The Chiefs decided to take away the Jaguars' best receiver. By that point, late in the game, Trevor Lawrence was throwing to their kick returner as a slot receiver. 2 turnovers in the fourth quarter cost them the game. You want to have as many guys as possible that can be standard guys, standard wide receivers to give you another playmaker. That's exactly what Peoples-Jones is. This is a great move, not for winning the NFC North, not for making the playoffs, but for advancing deep in the playoffs. This will help you against San Francisco. This will help you against Philly and teams like that in those potential deep matchups. This is a great move by Holmes to go ahead and recognize this was one potential area of weakness in this offense and fixing it with a great trade.
Yeah, Nick, and I think, like you said, they are set up perfectly, and I think the Lions know that as such. Like I said, all obviously the injuries this weekend to Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins really puts them in a good spot, probably going forward. If you look at the schedule coming off the bye, they have Chargers, and they have the Bears twice, Packers, Saints, Broncos, Vikings twice, and the Cowboys. So I think that you could say out of those last few games, they maybe lose two if you're being generous. I think that that is a really good spot to be in if you're the Lions. Definitely going to win the North, and you can potentially get yourself into some seeding because the NFC at the beginning of this season looked unbeatable. There was teams that were cut above the rest. Absolutely no question. Nobody was challenging them. Now we see these teams. Everything's kind of been turned on its head. I think the Lions are still right in there with the top teams in the NFC. And I think going through this rest of this schedule, a favorable schedule for the Lions, could put them in contention for some kind of home field advantage or playoff bye if they get themselves in the right footing. So I think this addition is just something else to help bolster that possibility.
And again, with any trade, we always talk about it. It's about value. What are you giving up to get this player? And they only gave up a 6th-round pick, which is, look, it's a flyer, right? A guy you pick in the 6th rounds, you hope normal cases is a guy who maybe can make your team as a special teams guy. You never expect them to become any sort of player. So it's not like they mortgaged their entire future to go out and get another receiver. They gave up a 6th-round pick to get Peoples-Jones for a 1-year rental. They could always extend him if they want to. He would not be that expensive. I don't know if they will or not. That'll be a decision for the offseason. But they get a guy at a great price. Obviously, with Cleveland, bad quarterback situation, his numbers aren't going to look great. But last year, he caught 60 balls. So we know he can be productive. All in all, this is a great move by the Detroit Lions, not only just addressing a potential weakness, right? They're being proactive. Instead of waiting for the injury to happen, they're getting a plan in place. That way, if the injury does happen, they're ready to go. But they also did it at a great price. This is outstanding decision-making by Holmes.